Welcome, Chris Edwards. You're from Oscar Hunt Tailors. You co-founded Oscar Hunt. How long have you been in business?
So we've been in business around 7.5 years now, I think.
Fantastic. So starting a business can often be challenging for many business owners. What were some of the challenges you had to face and overcome?
Well, I think the first thing is just getting started. I think it's very easy to kind of try and make everything perfect before you even get to the start line. So I think just sort of taking that leap and actually opening shop and seeing clients, that's the major kind of challenge.
Did you have a background already in suits and in tailoring suits, or was that something quite new for you too?
Yeah, it was new. I come from a finance background. I did a commerce degree. I'd always been interested in menswear. So for me, when I left uni and kind of didn't want to go down that corporate path, for me it was almost a logical step to get into.
Wow, and what was it that attracted you to that industry?
I think it's, despite it being quite sometimes an elitist or old sort of stuffy business, I just love the client interaction that you have. You really get to know the clients, which is kind of unique, I think.
Yes, and one of the things that you say as your business, that you want to make the act of investing in a new suit as enjoyable as humanly possible for clients. So what would you say are some of the core values that you as a business want to really exude and bring to clientele?
Well, we like to be accessible. I mean, you can walk into a lot of suit shops and it can be quite an intimidating experience. So we want it to be as friendly and warm as possible. You don't have to be a suit connoisseur or an expert. You can walk into our showrooms and you can know as little or as much as an expert. So it's our job to make you feel comfortable, to teach you, educate where we can, and just make it a little bit of a haven outside of the chaotic sort of day-to-day.
So you mentioned that you wanted to be quite different from other suit stores in the marketplace. Have you found that your approach was really quite unique, and has that really helped you build that name and the clientele?
Yeah, definitely. It was probably almost unintentional when we started. Originally we were kind of looking at online and a few other things, but we learned from very early on that it was that relationship with the client that people seem to really respond to. So kind of learning that, we just built on that, and we haven't, the last couple of years we've been good, but in the early years we weren't very good. But I think we always valued that relationship with the client, and that's, I guess, the essence of what we tried to do to stand out amongst a pretty crowded sort of marketplace.
Yeah, it's a great insight to learn, I think, is to look back and recognise what are some of the things that are really working, so that you can continue to do more of that.
Yeah.
What are some other things in the business that over the years you've seen, you know what, that's working so well, we want to continue to do that, that's enabled you to continue building success after success?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. Like I said, we did sort of see the online world as being a certain pathway. But for us, just seeing kind of people walk into a showroom, kind of feeling at home, meeting our front of house, being shown the bar to have a drink, being shown to our fitting rooms and just relaxing. I guess it was those points that we thought this is actually something quite unique. And that's, again, we doubled down on it. Our service side of things, we're always looking at ways to improve that. The ease of, I guess, the organising a fitting, having a suit made, just making it as fun and easy as possible.
I know that for many businesses, looking at how to market their business is something that they do each and every day. Obviously, word of mouth and building customer relationships is important. Are there some other things that you've done in your business as far as marketing, it might have been online, that has really enabled you to, again, build success? Because retail environments are really struggling, aren't they? Or some of them at least.
Definitely. To be perfectly honest with you, it's largely organic, our growth. I'd say we're built on word of mouth. That's our single most important lever, I guess. Certainly our social media is reasonably strong, and we use social media largely to educate our audience. It's not a sales tool for us. It's more about pushing the brand and I guess our values and what we find interesting. But largely it's about looking after the client, and that client then telling their friends, colleagues, whatever that might look like. That's been even though we want to sort of do some dazzling marketing initiatives, it always seems to come back to that simple word of mouth for us.
Fantastic. So now you're about 7.5 years on, and I'm sure when you look back, there were some insights that you learned. Are there things that you now know in business that you had no idea about when you first started that you think, my goodness, would we have even started a business?
Oh, it's massive. And your point, we were talking about that today. I almost look back now and think if I knew how difficult this game was, I'm not sure I even would have entered. But absolutely, I mean, it's the nature of small business, it's a circus and you make mistakes every day, and as a result you learn, as long as you can keep kind of learning from those mistakes and maybe making a more educated decision next time around. And yeah, but from people to operations to logistics to everything in between, you're constantly learning, constantly growing.
And obviously, as one of the co-founders, you would make sure that you're constantly tracking and monitoring, because if you do see that there's a need to shift and change, there's something that you do almost immediately rather than wait. Has that sort of been a strategy of yours?
Oh, absolutely. You've got to respond. I think that whilst we've always had our plan and try to kind of refine that plan and make sure that we don't lose focus, which I'm kind of prone to do, yeah, I guess it is about making sure that if something does turn up, then we're flexible enough to respond quickly. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah. One of the things I think as business owners, we can be so passionate about our business, and one of the things that will often fall by the wayside is taking time, having that work-life balance.
Yeah.
As a business owner, have you taken time? Is that important for you to make sure that you refresh and recuperate?
Definitely. I think I lost sight of that, certainly in the early days when we had no money, struggling to sort of pay rent week to week and staff, etc. It's just in the trenches and, you know, work. But to be honest, I'm not nearly as good if I haven't rested, if I haven't taken time away. So I try and build that in now. So yeah, it's an important part of sort of how I structure the weeks, is to make sure I do get some downtime, can get away, and yeah, being refreshed is, I guess, a key for productivity, I think, for myself anyway.
Yeah, very important. Productivity, I think, is key. Also, too, is finding motivation. What motivates you?
I think the little wins, to be honest. It's really easy sometimes to get down, to get a bit negative. It's tough, small business. So I think when you have those little wins, and just watching the team, I'm kind of really proud of the team that we've been able to put together. So watching how we get along, and I guess even how those in the team develop, and being a part of that, I love that.
Yeah. For some businesses that are just starting out, or maybe they've been in operation for a while, but they're working in a very competitive marketplace, the amount of money that they have to invest in their business can be somewhat small.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about business owners that are kind of marketing on a shoestring budget, what are some tips that you've maybe have done along the way in your business?
I'd say any investment in good existing clients is the best money that can be spent. It's easy to throw money at the wall, particularly with the social media out there. Advertising, particularly, I guess, above the line advertising isn't it's hard to track that, particularly if you're on a shoestring budget. So I'd say, yeah, investment in your existing client base is massive, as well as your team. If your team are up and about, if they're happy, healthy, relaxed and well trained when they come to work, I think that can only return better. It's not an immediate, you don't see it so, I guess, or easily trackable if you do something like a Google AdWords spend. But yeah, an investment in your team is a golden payoff.
So when you think about your team, and obviously when you first started up, you were a smaller team,
Yep.
and you've increased over time. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned around management of your team, training of your team?
Oh, we're still learning. I think it's actually really, it's difficult to find good people. So making sure that process is really well thought out, that hiring process, making sure that people are aligned to your values, and that onboarding. I think that's a huge opportunity to make sure that somebody can join your team and start with gusto and really, I guess, live and breathe those same values and the same, I guess, culture that you have. And that's incredibly important. Your team, your culture is, that's what keeps people going. Money is not as important a factor as I think people lead on.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute treat to speak with you today. It obviously sounds that customer service and customers are really important, teams are really important, because as we know, can be the foundations for a really successful business. If people want to find out more about your business, how can they do that?
They can visit our website, so www.oscarhunt.com. The real magic, I think, is in our showroom. So we're located on Hardware Lane in Melbourne and York Street in Sydney. So the bar's always open. We're always up for a chat. So that's a good way to do it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much.